Hi there pluckers, Ivor Fingers again with you. Thanks indeed for joining me for another guitar lesson. This one is a request I've had for some help for a number by a band called Joy Division, and the song's called Disorder. And I've been asked if I can show possibly how to play the lead solo section that comes after each verse as part of a rhythm part, so you can play everything on one guitar. Okay. So obviously not the easiest thing to do on an acoustic, because there's a little bit of bending involved whilst you're playing a chord. Okay, but I will show you how possibly you could do it. Okay, so it's my take on it anyway. Okay, it might not be 100%, but it's a reasonable attempt, I think. Okay, so let's just get to the gist of it. I'm in standard tuning, 3rd fret capo. Okay, fret capo 3 for the capo. Okay, same, I think it's roughly the same key as the original record. Okay, so the song starts off with a sort of a bit of a drumming, and then this prominent bass part. Okay, that comes in, and then the guitars come in and join in the bass riff. Okay, so and then after a couple of those the singing starts. Okay, so the notes I was playing there are 3rd fret of the A string, the 5th string, open 6th string, bottom E string, 3rd fret bottom E string, open bottom E string. Okay. Okay, so he does, the bass player does that a couple of times, and then the guitars join in, and the guitars are very jingly jangly. Okay, so what I'm doing on that, I would suggest you play this sort of shape. I'm playing, starting off with my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and my 3rd finger is playing the 3rd fret of the B string, the 2nd string. And the idea is that guitars jingly jangling are doing, there's a lot of 3rd fret B string and open G string. Okay, and you've got to try and get that into the bass riff as well. So basically I was doing sort of hitting that bass note, leaning this 2nd finger in slightly, muting the 4th string. Okay, 3rd string open, and then you've got this 3rd fret on the 2nd string, and it's like a down up down up down up down up. Okay, so it's a, that sort of thing would be quite good. So I'm hitting that bottom root note of the C chord with that 3rd fret of the 5th string, and then picking up the 2nd string on the 3rd fret and the G string open. Okay. Then we play the 2nd chord, keeping that finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, lowering, I'm putting my 1st finger now on the 2nd fret of the A string, the 5th string, doing exactly the same thing, but hitting the bottom E string open, and those two, 5th string and 6th string open, 2nd fret of the 5th string, and then picking up this 3rd fret of the B string and the 3rd string open. Got that? So so far we've got this. Okay. Okay, and then the 3rd chord is basically a G based chord, but you don't really need that 1st finger. You can take that off. Put your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the bottom E string, root note G. Lean it inwards slightly. Again, this time you're muting the 5th string, the A string, so that doesn't sound when you strum. Okay. Okay. And again is that hitting that bottom E string on the 3rd fret and picking up that 3rd fret of the B string and the G string open. Okay. So far we've got okay, and finally, keeping that finger where it is on that 3rd fret of the B string, make the E minor 7th again by putting your first finger back onto the 2nd fret of the E minor of the A string, the 5th string, and doing the same again, where you hit the bottom E string open and the 5th string on the 2nd fret, and then pick up that 3rd fret of the 2nd string and the open G string. So the whole lot together, the whole riff, is sort of like this. Got it? Got the idea? And that is the same, that then starts singing the verse, and that's that you just keep repeating those chords round and round and round for the verse. Okay, so basically if you want to play the bass riff to start with, you can. So and play the chords. Going. Been waiting for a guy to come and take me by the hand. But these sensations make me feel the pleasures of a normal man. These sensations barely interest me for another day. Got the spirit, lose the feeling, take the shock away. After the singing stops, you go back to that initial chord again with the 3rd fret of the A string, do the same as usual, but this time you go, right, so you do it slowly, as usual, then you go down to the 2nd fret of the A string, and then back to the 3rd fret of the A string, then back to the 2nd fret of the A string. So it's got that, da 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 dun, 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 da da da, and then you dig into that open bottom E string, holding the E minor 7th 2nd fret on the A string. So that again, do it slowly. Okay, then it goes into this lead solo bit, which I'm now going to try and incorporate into some chords. Okay, so after you've done that little lead in, which is the bit that goes like that, then we go into a straightforward G chord. Then move this first finger on the G chord from the 5th string down to the 2nd fret of the G string, sorry, 3rd string, and then play another strum, put that fretted on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So it's okay, so you come out of that. Slowly. So I'm doing bom, and then da da. So I'm hitting that root note, and then the G chord, then adding that finger to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Okay. Then what I'm doing is I'm keeping that finger where it is on the top E string on the 3rd fret, and what's happening now is this 2nd finger, which is on the 3rd fret of the bottom E string of the G chord, is moved down to the 2nd fret of the G string. Okay, so it's okay, but you start with it off, and then you put it back on. So it's da 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 Right, so you strum that E minor sort of chord, and then put that second fret of the third string on, and then take it off. So just coming out of this lead into the solo bit, it's let's do it again. So it's that's what I'm doing anyway. So got that? Okay. Then what I'm doing is I'm doing a C chord, but with the second fret of the third string being covered, not the fourth string. That second finger goes down to the third string on the second fret, and you hit the root note of the chord, that third fret of the fifth string. Okay, then strum the chord with that second fret of the third string covered, and then take that second finger off altogether and strum without it. So so the whole thing on this solo so far, incorporating it into the rhythm playing, is bum bum bum. Okay, so again. And then we've got this bit, which is a bit tricky. It's that the actual thing is, so it's a bend on the second fret of the G string, up and down, and then open G, second fret G, open G. That's what you need to hear, but I was trying to incorporate in the chord. It's basically like you can imagine an E minor chord, but this third finger is going to be playing that second fret of the G string. So second fret of the A string as usual with the second finger, the second fret of the G string, right? And you strum, and as soon as you strum, you try and bend that finger either up or down, whichever way you want to go. It's not easy on an acoustic. So it's got that, so it's trying to do it in the chord, okay? That sort of thing. So slide, hit it with it, bend it up, down, off, on that second fret of the G string, okay? So far we've got this. No, sorry, let's do it again. You just repeat that whole thing. Okay, G, okay, then we come to the second section of the solo, and this time you play the G, but this, instead of playing it like that, you need to play it like that. Okay, that's fingering, okay? And what you'd be doing is using this first finger to hammer on and off the first fret of the B string, the second string, and it's what it goes like is da 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 da. So just moving that first finger on and off, okay? Okay, got that? So when you've done that, we basically go into C major seventh, so it's a C chord with the first finger off to start with, and you strum that C major seventh, then add the first finger to the first fret of the B string, make the C chord, and then add your pinky to the, whilst holding the C, put your pinky on the third fret of the B string, so you just that's what effectively what you're doing, okay? Like that. And then finally we play an E minor 7th, second fret of the 5th string, 3rd fret of the B string with either your 3rd finger or your pinky, and it's a da 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 da. Okay, so the whole thing slowly. Basically it goes back into the second half of the chord sequence for the verse, where you're playing the G, 3rd fret of the bottom E string and 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and then that second, keeping that finger where it is on the 3rd fret of the B string, 2nd fret of the A string now, and dig into that 6th string open and that 5th string on 2nd fret. So it's G, that, two chord sequence, and then we go into the full normal sequence for the verse. So. Then we start another verse, and then it does another solo section. Okay, so we'll try and go through the whole thing, okay, slowly for you. Okay, here we go from the beginning, right from the beginning with the bass intro. Okay. Waiting for a guy to come and take me back. Essentially, we feel the pleasures of the night. Sensation, baby, 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 excuse my words. Got the spirit of the reason to feel and take the shot away. Yes, well, sorry about that. I made a slight few mistakes on that, but it wasn't too far out. But you get the idea, don't you? Just put all those bits together and you've got it, okay? The hardest bit, I think, is that on an acoustic it's quite difficult. On an electric it would be far easier, okay? But anyway, so just to go through the bit coming out of the verse into the solo, I'll play and try play that whole section fairly slowly for you, okay? So coming out of the last line of the verse, alright, so that's spirit to lose the feeling, take the shot away. And so on, you get the idea, don't you? Well, thanks very much for listening. Hopefully that will point you in the right direction. It's not 100% by any means, but it might point you in the right direction. Okay, thanks a lot.